Right, okay folks, welcome to the Friday Waffle. Do not adjust your screen or whatever it is you're watching this on. Yeah, I've got the camera, I'm driving, you can probably tell with the noise, I'm driving and I've nowhere to display the camera at all, or the phone, so I'm having to lie it flat on the car seat. Now, apologies about this. The reason being is I know I didn't do a waffle last week, so I thought, right, you know what, I want to get a waffle out this week. It's only fair. So I recorded one last night, I think it was about 45 minutes. Quite a good one. Went to edit it to discover the sound was completely fucked. There was no, well, there was sound, but it was this really droning noise. You couldn't make out my voice at all. I think it was to do with the headset. I'm not quite sure. I did try and record another couple of 10-second clips after I discovered what had gone on, and it made no difference. So I've now put that headset in the bucket. Yeah, you weren't going to get a waffle this week because of that. I mean, I've done videos in the past where I've recorded it and for whatever reason something hasn't worked and I've then re-recorded it, but you know what, I'd kind of just made it on the hop, and I could not be arsed re-recording it last night. So I decided, you know what, there's not going to be a waffle this week. But I'm driving through to my girlfriend's house, so I thought, you know what, an audio type thing with a black screen is going to be better than nothing. Well, that's for you to decide. So anyway, what have I been doing the last couple of weeks? I was at my computer club last week, always a bit of a hoot. That was good fun. I've had a cold for about what seems like weeks. I think it's about, I don't know, 2.5 weeks I've had this stinker of a cold. The worst part was having a sore throat. A sore throat isn't something I get very often, fortunately, but it was that bad, you know, I could hardly sleep, trying to get to sleep, and every time you swallow it's just this horrible pain. So yeah, that wasn't very good. I've not been able to cook soul at all because, you know, it's not really clever to go along to somewhere when you're not feeling great and potentially affect everybody, especially something like a martial art. You're obviously up kind of close and personal with people, so I've not been at that. I've done a couple of videos. I mean, hopefully you enjoyed the Gary Penn one from, was it last week or the week before, I can't remember exactly. Excuse me. Gary's a good lad, really good, nice and nasty. I've hopefully got another couple of nice and nasties lined up. I'm still waiting to hear back from somebody. He'll say he's going to do it, and then you just simply never hear back. So we'll see. I have got another video coming out next week. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You can just wait and find out. But it was recorded with one of my mates. It's like any part 2 to something that we did. So that was good. You've got that to look forward to. Yeah, that's it. I've not really got an awful lot to talk about tonight. I did hear one thing on the radio actually, and it was apparently there's been a number of families they've taken legal action against some of the big software companies like Rockstar and Ubisoft and I don't know, Bethesda, whatever, probably EA as well with their kind of Call of Duties. And what they are not happy about is they have said that because these companies have made their games addictive, which has entrapped their kids, and it's caused them all sorts of problems. It's led to kind of isolation, it's led to depression, you name it, you know, and they're blaming the software companies. I've got two thoughts about this. My initial thoughts were, what a lot of shite.
you know, the whole point of a game, the whole point of a video game is you want to play it. You know, and a big part of certainly games in the past, if you look at any Zap review or Crash review or whatever from the classic days, one of the things that was a plus was the game was addictive. Now that means you want to play it. You know, when you've finished your game, you want to get back into it. So I don't think that is a bad thing. The thing is, it comes down to moderation. You know, if you're a parent and you've got a young kid, then everything should be done in moderation. It's the same with anything, whether it's watching TV, whether it's, I don't know, you know, yeah, obviously playing video games, eating food. You've got to moderate it. You know, if you think about it, if they successfully sue a software company for making a game too addictive, then could you not sue a food company? Could you not sue a chocolate making company? Because they make their chocolate, they make their sweets that you want more of it. So, you know, they're making their food addictive, so can you not sue them? It surely comes down to being self-moderating. But the one thing, I was talking to one of the guys at my work about this actually, and what she said to me was a lot of the modern software now, modern games, they have, as we all know, they have like in-app purchases. You know, if you want to get the latest footballer in FIFA or whatever, you've got to buy it. You've actually got to buy it, and you know that in itself isn't a good thing. I mean, you've all heard the stories of people investing like £1,000 in the latest FIFA, and then they get their account hacked, and then somebody's able to effectively steal everything that they've got in this game. So I don't like that. I mean, my daughter, fortunately, well, she still does play games like Roblox, but you know, I remember a few years ago she was asking me, oh, can I get £5? I want a Roblox, I don't know what you call it, a loot box, I think it was called, something like that, whatever. And yeah, it was a digital thing. You paid your £5, you opened this treasure chest thing, and it was completely random as to what was inside. You might be lucky that you'll get something that you've not already got, but on the other side, it was perfectly reasonable that you might get stuff that you've already got. And that in itself is gambling. I mean, I've played games on my phone. I don't really play many games on my phone for that very reason. But yeah, you can get games that are completely free to buy, and you can earn coins. But if you want to buy stuff quickly, then you can buy coins. Go to their shop, buy coins. You know, for £10, £9.99, you get 1,000 coins. But ridiculously, you can actually, in these games, I mean, if you don't believe me, look it up. Some of these games, you can spend like £100, £99.99, and you'll get like 1,000,000 coins or 10,000 coins. So a game that's cost free ends up costing like £100, and you know, and it's all it is. It doesn't really add anything to the game. It's just, well, it does, I suppose. It lets the character have a different uniform or whatever, you know, a different weapon. Now the thing is, when we were playing these games years ago, you had to actually earn things. You know, you had to discover, you had to find treasure, and then you could buy things, you could buy additional weapons. But nowadays it's all about actual charging people for hard cash. I mean, we've all heard about the companies they'll release a game on a Blu-ray disc, and that will actually have extra levels and extra content, which if you want to unlock, you've got to buy. Now I know a lot of people get upset about that, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, I've bought the disc, I own the disc, the data is on the disc, why should I be paying more money for it? I understand that, I do understand that, but conversely I do understand that, you know, companies, if they want to put out new levels, now I'm not against companies doing that. I mean, one of my favourite games from the Xbox 360 was Left 4 Dead, and you could, they had additional levels which you would buy through Steam, and it gave you, you know, it gave you extra levels and what have you, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, they were maybe like, I don't know, £7 or something. Absolutely fine with that. And so really, is there a difference between having these levels available online, like I was buying them online, paying the money by buying them, or if they decide to put them on the disc, when you unlock them, you then get instant access? Would people be upset about having to download a level? Probably not, but because it's already on the disc, they get upset about it. So it's one of these things, I do understand it. There was a company, is it Ubisoft? Excuse me, no, it wasn't Ubisoft. I've got hiccups, beg your pardon. It was Capcom. They apparently released a game recently in the last couple of months. I don't know what the game is, not interested. And it was reviewed by, I was going to say by the magazines, it was reviewed by various websites, and apparently it got really good reviews. But then the next day, when they released the actual product to the market, it had in-app purchases, which they didn't mention in the review copy, and apparently they've been getting absolute pelters by consumers, because, you know, if you're going to have downloadable stuff, I think the downloadable stuff was shown in the previews or in the reviews, but they didn't say that you have to actually pay extra money for it. So that is a wee bit kind of sneaky. And apparently, is it the latest Tekken? I think it's Taken, the person that works said. There's characters again, which if you want to play them, if you want to unlock them, you've got to buy them. You know what? It's that's the way the things work now. You know, dinosaurs like myself, we cannot get our head around having to pay extra money for things. You know, back in the day when we bought a tape, a disc, a cartridge, everything that was on that was yours. You didn't have to pay extra money or any of that bollocks. So, you know what, I'm kind of in two minds about it. You know, it's not for me, but it's the way things have become. But I'm interested to know, what are your views? Do you think companies have got a duty of care to their customers about making games too addictive? If you make a game not addictive, are you going to want to play it? I don't think so. Anyway, listen, before I get going, I have got a number of questions from a couple of weeks ago. So I've got Steve's Gaming 7475, and he's asking, have you ever played a game you expected to be shit and it turned out to be great? You know what? I mean, I wouldn't normally buy a game or play it. If I thought a game was shit, I wouldn't play it normally. But there is one game that instantly springs to mind, and it's a game that you guys are going to be extremely familiar with on my channel, and it's China Miner. That was a game that it came as part of the Soft Aid compilation, which was the software company's attempt to kind of raise money for Ethiopia for the famine, you know, the same as Live Aid and Band Aid did. And yeah, China Miner was one of the games on this compilation, and I remember playing it. I don't think I ever saw a review of the game. I played it, and it was instantly dropped because it was impossible. And then some, I don't know, 35 years later, when I was doing one of my live streams, I think I was doing a I don't know, an Interceptor Interceptor games video, and obviously I played excuse me, I played China Minor, and I remembered how awful the game was. It was impossible. But if you're a regular on my channel, you'll know that it became a bit of a tradition that the very last game that I played in a live stream on a Sunday was China Minor, and the whole point of it was I wanted to see if I could actually get past level 1. And over the preceding couple of years, I started to get not too bad at it, to the point that I got to, I think I've reached level 6, 7, 8, something like that. I can't remember exactly what level it was, but it has now, and this is without a word of a lie, I actually enjoy playing the game. Is it a good game? Probably not, way too difficult, but I like the challenge, and it's a game, yeah, I looked at, I thought it was shite, but through playing it, I've actually discovered it's a good game. So there you go, China Minor. Now, Wee Bob, thanks for the question, Steve. Wee Bob is asking, in fact, I'm just going to wait until I get on that straight bit of road. We all did our fair share of joystick waggling back in the day, or beating the keyboard. The other day I was playing a game, Death Stranding. Just hang on a second, I'm just going to turn, I don't want to have an accident. There we go. Right, I'm just going to wait till I get to the bottom of the road here. Alright, I'm being extremely careful, please don't worry. I'm going to wait till I get down here and get over the bridge before I answer that. I'll tell you, it's an absolute shit night. The weather is just awful. It's been absolutely pissing it down with rain for about 3 days. It's awful. Absolutely awful. Right, I should be fine now. Right, let's have a look at this. The other day I was playing Death Stranding, and you have to keep your finger held down a lot to keep your character stable, which can become uncomfortable. Are there any games from the 90s onwards that you love but are sometimes uncomfortable to play due to finger strain, etc.? I can't think of any game offhand, Bob, like from that period that gave me any sort of problems. I mean, I think the only games that would give me a sore wrist or a finger, whatever, wasn't the joystick waggling games. It was probably shoot 'em ups. Now, shoot 'em ups that require you to hammer a fire button. It's fine when you kind of use like modern, modern controllers. You know, there's not a lot of pressure on them. But when you used like, you know, Atari 8-bit, Atari kind of style joysticks, they invariably had the fire button on the base. You had the kind of shaft, whoever misses, in your hand, and then you had the fire button on the base, and it doesn't really lend itself particularly well to games where you're having to hammer the fire button. At least I find it quite sore. When I was playing the Commodore 64 and the Amiga back in the day, I used it was called the Wicco Boss, which had the fire button on the top, and I found that much easier to use than using ones where the button was on the base. So that's probably the games I would kind of think of. Like I said, I can't think of any modern game that kind of gave me any problems. So anyway, listen, Bob, thank you very much for the question. I do look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time. We're off to Arcade Club. Going down, I can't even remember what date it is. We're going down the 19th, I think it's the 20th of April. We're going to be at Arcade Club. So if you're in the vicinity and you fancy coming in to say hello, then please do so. Right, thanks for the question, Bob. Right, Colin Jones I did have a simple question, but here's a better one. My passion with real hardware is mixing old and new technology. What are your thoughts on modifying classic computers with modern hardware to improve the experience? Now, I'm quite a fan of things like that, Colin. You know, whilst I love, you know, the original hardware, playing games in the original hardware, there are certain systems that I would not want to play the original hardware, and it's down to, well, a couple of things. One, the screen. Secondly, the controller. Screen-wise, the original Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, which didn't have a light. The Atari Lynx, you know, even the form factor of an Atari, it was massive. Not particularly nice to use. You know, even the gamepad wasn't the greatest. But the screens in these things, when you look at them now, they're bloody awful. You know, really, really bad. And you know, if I'm going to play any of these machines now, I would much rather play it on a modern bit of hardware like the Steam Deck. It's comfort to use. The screen is like a million times better. It just looks glorious. So, you know, why would you want to play games on the original hardware when you can play it and enjoy it much better? Then you've got the controllers, things like even the Atari 2600 at that point. The Atari 2600 is a classic machine. The joystick it's synonymous with classic retro gaming. It's an icon, you know, but it's not a particularly good joystick. And then you've got the god-awful controllers that came with the Atari 7800, the ColecoVision, what else? The Intellivision. These were all absolutely fucking horrendous controllers. And so being able to play these games now using modern controllers, it's like night and day. So there's that part of it. But then, yeah, you've got the things like having to piss about. You know, you try and get a what do you call it, a Spectrum, and tune it into a modern TV using composite. It is next to impossible. So these modern bits of hardware, you can connect them using HDMI. You've also got the if it's a Spectrum, you're going to have joystick ports. You're going to have a decent keyboard. You're going to have the ability to load all the software from an SD card. You know, what's not to love? You're still getting to play the games, you know, the way they were intended with the programmers, but you don't have the same hassle and pissing about with old kind of hardware. So I'm a massive fan of these, Colin. And anybody that kind of says, oh, you know, they're not the same, they're talking out a hole in their arse. So thank you, Colin. Right, next is Ox. Name a game that you actually like from each of your least favourite genres. I mean, RPGs. I'm not a fan of RPGs at all. But one RPG I loved would be, what do you call it? The Legend of Zelda. The one that came out on the Super NES. Was it Ocarina of Time? I can't bloody remember. I think it was Ocarina of Time. Anyway, it's original Zelda that came out on the SNES. I'm not a fan of, you know, these types of games ordinarily, but this was great, really, really good. What else? I mean, strategy games where, you know, like point and click, like, I don't know, Ages of Empire and all these kind of things, Civilization. I'm not a fan of these. I just find them too complex. But then I absolutely adored Dune 2 on the Amiga. I loved Command and Conquer, Red Alert, Warcraft on the PC. These are all fantastic games. Loved them. What else? flight simulators, I'm not a fan of flight simulators. As you know, it's not a question of being not a fan, it's just I find them overly complicated. But the original Elite, loved it. You know, it was a game that I played, I put so many hours into back in the day. Fantastic game. So yeah, that's my answers to that one, Oaks. Thank you very much. And finally, Lord VY18317. What is a game you'd really liked and heard there was a sequel coming out, but the sequel disappointed you? I've mentioned this before. One of the games that I was really looking forward to the sequel would be The Way of the Exploding Fist. You talk to anybody about the Commodore 64 and ask them what the best beat 'em up was. There's two people. There's people who will say Way of the Exploding Fist, like me, and the second type of people, they're the people that are wrong. They'll say International Karate Plus. Don't get me wrong, International Karate Plus, technically, it's a fantastic game. It's a great game. I do like International Karate Plus. You know, from a technical point of view, it's an astonishing piece of software. But I will always have a soft spot for Way of the Exploding Fist. If I had to play a beat 'em up on the Commodore 64, it would always be Way of the Exploding Fist. And then, of course, like any Fist fan, I was really excited when I heard that they were going to be releasing a sequel, imaginatively titled Fist 2. And there was screenshots in Zap, and I thought, oh, this is going to be brilliant. It's going to have the playability of Way of the Exploding Fist, but it's going to have an adventure kind of, you know, slant it. You're going to be able to walk about, you're going to encounter different enemies, etc, etc. And when it came out, when it was released, I bought it without even reading the review, and I was disappointed. It was a bit clunky. The actual fighting part of it, it was nothing like. It was like a watered down version of Way of the Exploding Fist. It was disappointing, really was disappointing. And then when I think it got reviewed in Zap, and it didn't get great reviews. So yeah, that was one game. The only other game I can think of, and it wasn't really technically answering what you're saying here, there was a demo of skid marks for the Amiga, and it was a driving game, kind of akin to Super Sprint, and they released a demo. I think it was Amiga Power released this demo, and me and my mate played it non-stop. The playability, there was only one track, but we loved it. It was fantastic. And then when the game came out, it obviously tweaked with the playability, and it just wasn't the same. Now, I thought it was maybe just me. I'm thinking maybe it's just me that's, you know, I've imagined this. Now, somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody else commented on, I think it was a video, and they said the same thing. They said, yep, the demo was fantastic, but for some weird reason, when they brought out the actual game, they had fucked about with the controls, and it just wasn't the same, and it was disappointing. So yeah, anyway, listen folks, I'm going to get going. Hopefully this has still been recording. Let me see, has it still been recording? It certainly has. Hey! Right, I'm going to get going. Thank you very much to everybody that continues to support my channel. There's been quite a few new subscribers. It's always appreciated. I should be along on Sunday, 7 o'clock till 9. Until next time folks, have a great weekend, and as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Take care. See ya.